Yo, yo, yo.
Hey,
Welcome back. Welcome back to Small Willies and Big Egos
that's it.
International.
International. Now, I'm actually
Yeah, bro.
in. Good morning. Your good morning to you. Good afternoon to me. I am in on the Gold Coast, and you are Jacob.
I'm currently in Drogheda in Ireland.
Jordan. Where's that situated in Ireland?
Um, I'm gonna say north of Dublin, half an hour,
Yeah.
but that's a. I'm pretty sure up's north, so I'm gonna go with north. Not yeah, because Belfast is Northern Ireland, so yeah, we're north of Dublin.
Okay, cool. This is like I just as you were speaking, then I was thinking when we recorded, a couple of our other podcasts, and we were talking about like the fact that I think that we didn't know whether we were going to be able to record one, or we are like, yeah, we'll record them when you're overseas. We'll keep going, and then I was kind of like, oh, I don't know if we'll be able to. And this is so cool. This is so exciting.
Yeah.
This is really like
Thank you, Spotify, for allowing us and giving us a platform that's so easy to use to set this all
yeah.
up. We're assuming it's easy to use. We'll see how this podcast comes out if it works.
Oh, so good. So, Jacob, how are you? How are you going on this trip?
Yeah, I'm good. It's I think 29 days. I can't believe I've been gone for 29 days. I've only had two destinations so far, London and Ireland, and I fly out to Amsterdam today. Um, Yeah, it's been different parts of the journey. I think coming from a lifestyle where it was quite go go go, coaching and working and just lifestyle. Just you don't realize how fast you're actually moving until you go somewhere and stop. Which I think has been a really beautiful reflection. Obviously, when I went to London, it was quite busy, quite intense. New first solo travel like this, so there was a lot going on, and yeah, I think now that I've been in Ireland for a couple of weeks and had time to like fully slow down, fully recharge, I potentially think I got a bit of COVID in London because I was just absolutely drained while I was here for the first week.
Yeah,
And maybe part of that was just due to stopping as well. So yeah, it gave me a lot of time to reflect, ponder, figure out pieces in my life that I'm wanting to change and move through. And this whole trip's about me figuring out what it is that I'm here to do and how I want to do it and what lights me up and where I want to move. And yeah, I feel like this trip's definitely going to give me all those platforms to look at myself and look at the things that I want to achieve. But yeah, right now it's been really good. It's been one of the girls asked me last night, like, what's Ireland been for you? And I said, it's been rechargeable, or it's given me a moment to like stop and breathe and reassess and get going again. So
yeah.
yeah, it's been a place where the land's beautiful, the greenery is beautiful, and just yeah, it's been regenerative in my time here, which feels really good. I feel really energized now to move on to the next place, and I feel a lot more grounded in the traveling sense.
Fantastic.
So yeah, that's sort of where I'm at.
Will Smith spoke about obviously he does a lot of traveling with his work, and he spoke about how he's been to so many countries and he vibrates so much different in each country, and there's certain countries that he feels that his vibrations or his energy is a lot higher. And yeah, I find that really interesting about Ireland, how like you've gone there and you've had an opportunity to sort of get in a home, back to some home style cooking, and be around some, as you said, some women that have really given you an opportunity to do a bit of exploring, and also like
Mm,
cared for you. And now you've had that opportunity to like to to recharge. I find it interesting to see if like maybe there's ancestral history in Ireland for you, or like if
mm,
there's part of you that has been there in the past, or another life. Um and yeah, and the reason behind why it is you've got that recharge as well. That's super exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing as you move through your next countries, and what you do next in the spaces and where you go, about how your energy is. I'll look forward in a couple of weeks when we do another podcast to see how it is in these next places where you are, and what you can take from them. It could be a little bit of a diary entry type thing for you to to put down
mm.
actually how you were in the countries. I don't like find that really, you know how like Matthew McConaughey did in Green Lights, like how he constantly had those notes and stuff in his books. It would be pretty cool. Yeah, like what a story when you come home. Like, oh yeah, I went to these countries and I did all these things, but something that I really took away from the holiday was actually what each country did for me. As like, if
Mm.
you're like a phone battery, right? How much charge are you getting, or how much energy is the country taking from you? And also, like, what are you doing in each country as well that is allowing you to do that?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Yeah, I'm really like checking in how much like I don't journal, and I
Mm,
love Matthew McConaughey and I love how he's got his stories, but yeah, maybe the podcast is my format of that, so it's
yeah,
like things have changed as well in society, and how we actually document things, and my phone and my videos, and yeah, there's little things that prompt different stories, so it's a good way to think about it. But yeah, it's been like very family feel here, like Katiana and Caitlin and Courtney have just like taken me in like a brother or a son,
yeah,
um and a good friend. It's been nice and wholesome, like being away from my family on the Gold Coast as well. It's been nice to be in a place where I'm like, now I feel like a lot of not mum energy, but just like having a woman like really just take care of me, like offer her house to me, offer her car to me, offer the fridge. Like it's like just do whatever you want here. It's just
yeah,
like there's something really special about that, especially when you're traveling overseas,
yeah.
to be taken care of. It's like we as humans a lot don't ask for what we need, and when someone just takes care of you, it's like, oh, my little boy is like, thank you, this is fucking nice.
So it's so true, so true. I
How are you, bro?
How am I? I've been really wonderful. Like life has been, um, I feel there's so much energy at the moment. I actually just got a message. I reposted a clip from a mate of mine who I teach his son, on Instagram today. He just recently been on a podcast, and he spoke about the importance of having, really good people around you, and not having energy sappers, and being, being aware of those energy sappers. But I reshared the clip, and then I reached out to him he reached out to me and said, thanks so much. And that feeling, this new feeling of just loving myself has
Mm,
been so awesome. Like I wrote back to him just thanks. And I truly am thankful for him, because he's given me an opportunity, and he's supported me to teach his son. And
mm,
and in that, having that confidence, uh, in me, and some of the beautiful things that he said to me that I've done for his son, has also just recharged me as well. And yeah, just these moments. I actually wrote something about here down here today around presence.
mm,
And I said, I've really been noticing lyrics in songs, colors and smells so much more, on a really deeper level. And a song lyric I recently heard, that, well, today I was actually listening to it, and said, there will come a time, when no one will know we're here, every sound, every color, and every tear. And
mm,
that hit me really deep today. Like there was a few tears around. There's going to be a time when I no longer exist in this space as this being. And
mm,
so while I'm here, I want to continue to feel what I'm feeling now, and more in abundance. So
mm,
yeah, I've been really, really happy, Jacob, and loving my life, and loving the opportunity that I've got. And I shared that with you yesterday around having you, as my mentor, and also, being able to step continually into this new version of myself. So yeah, it's been really special, and I'm looking forward to my trip down to Katoomba, in a week. So
yeah.
I can't wait for that too.
Yeah, and just being on holidays, and I think like it's a probably a nice point for you to share that like this is sort of the year mark
Yeah.
from last year for you, like reflect on that a little bit around, what's changed. A lot of people from this podcast are going to know a different version of Daniel. I know you've shared lots throughout the podcast, but just timelines, and how quickly things can change, and how much we can advance and grow and learn in such short periods of time when we have the right support around us. I think it's very, it's critical to to reflect on how far you've come in such a short period of time. And it's good for listeners to know that you don't need to go to a counselor for 10 years. It's like it can be quite impactful if you have the right people.
Yeah, agreed. Um, so yeah, as Jacob's saying, this time last year, in about a week or so, definitely was thinking about not being here anymore on quite a deep level. And it came down to a point when two men, Cam, a really close friend of mine, and Scotty turned up at my house and basically took me downstairs, and I fell on the lawn and said, I don't want to be here anymore, and I've had enough. And I cried, I reckon, like for a good 45 minutes. Like they couldn't get me off the grass, and I could see the concern and the worry. I've still got like those images in my head, like just the concern and worry from them. And they nudged me in the right direction of seeking a counselor at the start, and he did some deep work around the subconscious and sort of nudged me back on the path and helped me close some of those files that as he called them, files that were still open and causing me like significant amounts of pain. Um, and and then I was lucky enough to run with Adrian, and he nudged me in the direction of the men's circle, which we sit weekly now. Well, I sit weekly, and Jacob still is a huge part of while he's overseas. The King's Council on the Gold Coast, and then yeah, Jacob invited me to do some one-on-one work with him, and so this is a year, in 2 weeks. But it's really been 6 months. Like I really believe it's been 6 to 8 months when the huge transformations came. I think it was when I stopped taking antidepressants, and that was like that huge moment of going, I don't need this. I can actually do this by myself. But yeah, the pivotal moment was when I went and got sushi that day, and you posted on your story, like and celebrated me, and it was the first time in a long time that I felt like fucking celebrated. Like I was like, oh, I'm seen. I'm really seen. Like Jacob has posted me on his story, and at that point in time, it was when I was pedestaling you a little bit, and it was really beautiful to that's another whole part of the story. But yeah, I felt like, oh, this guy who I really look up to is seeing me, and it was that was the start of my journey of seeing myself in a different light. And there, like leading into the holidays, there was a tiny bit of fear, around this space. But, you know, as soon as I woke up Monday morning, and I'm like, it's another day, and I feel fucking incredible. Like I can't, I'm going to enjoy, I'm fucking winning. I'm enjoying this time now. I'm loving the fact, and, the fact I got a second chance, or I gave myself a second chance at doing this incredible life. And I'm so glad and grateful that I'm only 41, and I've said it lots of times. I've got another minimum 40 to 50 years. I'd love to say 60 or 70 years with modern medicine, that I get to keep feeling, keep feeling like this, and continue to cultivate and build like our relationship too, man. Like I've got a best friend in you, and someone that I can truly say like saved my life, and I'm forever grateful, for that. Like forever grateful, and it feels really nice to be able to say that. Yeah.
Aho,
Oh,
aho, aho.
oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
beautiful.
Thank you.
It's good to have you here, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's good to be here.
it's been a what's the word that I want to use? I feel the angel comes to my mind. It's like, yeah, like our angels in our life, you know what I mean? Whether they're friendships, lovers, whatever. It's like you're an angel to me and I'm an angel to you. And we all, it's beautiful when we recognize that, you've had as much of an impact in my life as I've had in yours. So it's nice to be here.
Yeah, it is. It's so So beautiful.
It's cool to be doing a podcast on the other side of the world.
Yeah, it's like I said before, it's not strange, but it is strange. It's like as in foreign. Like I'm so used to.
The part that's strange for me is that I keep like I'm looking at me and I'm looking at you and I like that camera. I'm like, fuck, stop looking at me, Jacob.
I know, and the thing I really love, like when we podcast, and what I'm looking forward to when you come home is just the collective energy that we share. I feel like we've got
Mm.
such amazing energies when they combine in the room, and sometimes we can do an hour of a podcast, and like I can finish, and I'm like, wow, that was. It's like I'm not even there, like
Mm.
it's really cool, and I definitely don't feel much different now, apart from like I love the big headphones and I can kind of hear myself, and then I like turn my voice down
Yeah,
to my
totally.
to my podcast voice, which
Yeah.
is really
Um,
well.
I know you've got some questions, but I'm just going to drop in some stuff here as well,
Awesome.
and just see where this takes us. Because I've been listening to a podcast with Joe Rogan and Dr. Phil,
Yeah.
and I just thought it'd be an interesting thing to talk about with you because it's about education and the American system, and they were talking about how like America are like 37th in the world now for mass, and then wanting to be a powerhouse, and the decline in education and stuff in America is a big part of how the generations are coming up, and they're getting dumber because they're lowering the grades, so like a C in America is like 47% now. Back then that was an F
Yeah. Yeah.
back
Yeah.
in the day,
Yeah.
and I'm just interested to see how like that sort of maps across to Australia, because I know that our C's have definitely lowered. I remember when I went to trade school, I think it was 60% for a C.
Yeah.
um and I'm not sure if that's different to what it used to be, but it seems like it's quite low. But yeah, what's your reflection on Australians' education of how we're contouring grades and markings to pass students?
Yeah, 100%. Really good question. So I'm obviously in the public education system, so I can't speak for the private. But I know that if you were to look at a sample of writing, let's take a C sample of writing for one of my year five students, it would have been by far an A sample of writing when we were at school. These kids are so, the expectation on them, and their ability and the amount of work that they can do in a.
Okay, so it's better. It's
Yeah,
better.
100
Yeah,
percent.
yeah.
Like our education system and the amount these students know is phenomenal.
Mm,
I'm extremely like, and look, I'm speaking from the school that I'm at the moment.
totally.
When I was up on the north side of Brisbane, and I was working in really low economic schools. Obviously they brought a different set of challenges, and
Mm,
like a different level of learning. Um, but yeah, when you're in a more affluent area, and you're in an area with a great team around you, and a school's humming, and a really incredible principal, then you are provided, or the students are provided with really strong and solid opportunities. Um,
totally. What are your grade percentages? Do you know, like in regards to like 60, 75, 84? Like what are your A's, B's, and C's?
I can't give you an exact estimate on my A's, B's, and C's, but like if it was.
Nah, like what is if you had to mark something, you know what a C is, don't you?
Yeah, but
Like your percentages?
it's marked against a guide, so it's not marked against a percentage. So basically, I'm giving a list of standards, and I have to find where they are against those standards. Like if we were talking percentages, I would be able to say, like, this amount of percentages of kids got an A in my year. But as far as like percentages on a guide, like they do that more in high school here. So their marking
So how do
scheme.
you how do you determine what a do you give A's, B's, and C's?
Yeah, 100%. So like how I determine an A is
So,
against a set of standards. So as I'm marking, I'll read a guide. It's called a guide to making judgments. And basically it'll have, like, to get a C, you need to have strong noun groups and verb groups. You need to have strong text structures. You need to have, if they're doing a speech, a wide variety of changes of tones and gestures.
Okay.
So if the students got those things, then I will be able to mark them off. And that's Australia. So if you're using the Australian curriculum, or marking against the Australian curriculum, then that's how you determine what's an A, B, and a C, or a D, or an E.
What
Not
about maths?
maths is the same, so it's still against a set of standards. So they're
I wonder
all.
if that's changed.
Say again.
Do you reckon that's changed since like we went to school?
I think we were a lot more bell curve, Jacob. So I think that you gave out a certain amount of A's, B's, C's, and D's. So you had that. So you had that bell curve that sort of fit neat. So it'd be like, I'm going to give out. I'm going to give the top 10% that I think students in my class an A. So between 90 to 100 was an A. And it used to, like, even when I started sort of teaching, that was a roundabout thing. You gave 70 to 90 was a B. 50 to 70 was a C, 30 to 50 was a D, and then 0 to 30 was an E. So that was like a roundabout guide of what you could, but that's like 15, 20 years ago. Now everything.
I wish I'd done a bit more research on like the Australian reflections on our education. But
Yeah.
it's something that I was listening to last night, and I'm really interested by this. And I would love, but maybe on the next podcast, for us to bring some statistics, especially for parents and teachers and all that
Yeah.
sort of stuff, because I think this is a huge part of like how our next generation progresses into
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
And I think it's beautiful what you're doing at school as well, because it's like academia is really important, but outside of that, our wellness and presence and all those sort of things that we bring into children's lives is so much more important to bring confidence into who they are
100%.
outside of academia. So it's like, the way that I hear your children think and speak and stuff, it's like, yeah, wow, there is a lot of difference here. But yeah, and this may be just an American thing in regards to how they're actually operating. And
Yeah.
I mean, that interests me, how it's a perception thing as well. You know what I mean? So if I know there's an education as you as a teacher for you to have a baseline of things to operate your marking system,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's like it's your perception on how it flows and how it, like if you're doing a writing piece, it's like, oh, the way Mao on his day is perceiving this is the grade that's going to be referenced. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? It's not necessarily like, well, it's not hard. This is the mark. It's like,
No, definitely. It's 100%. And it's also like the way I've taught it, so let's say I'm teaching a narrative. I actually give a specific structure. Let's say little Jacob comes into the room and he doesn't start with his orientation. He starts with his conclusion. Like that, that's your left of center thinking. That's your way in which, and I've seen this. I've seen this year, actually, just recently, in speeches. And that's another fantastic part that we have, is around moderation. So I bring little Jacob's work to the rest of my year level or my cohort level, look at it and read it with them. So then you've got almost 7 sets of eyes. Obviously, I'm at a bigger school. It's reading this sample of work and giving a fair and just opinion of this work, so it doesn't just have to be my eyes. And that's really comforting too. Where I was, it was me. I was the single teacher on year 5 and 6. So it was always my perception. Whereas now I've got this broad range of, and highly intellectual teachers that have been teaching for 20 plus years, that are able to actually go, yeah, I loved the language in this. I love the language in Little Jacobs. And I also really love the fact that he started with his resolution and his coda or his message. But as his story flowed on, maybe the start part where he'd gone back in time wasn't that strong. And it's kind of like, so Jacob's next step would be that when he's doing his orientation or starting his story, he needed to add more descriptive language or whatever, like whatever it is. That's sort of like, it's a really, really thorough process, and a lot of, I think, a lot of eyes and a lot of work goes into, especially the marking of their work. It's really beautiful, and it's really incredible to be a part of it. It's something that I'd yearn for a long time, to be part of a team that actually gives these these kids the maximum opportunity to get the best marks they can, but also providing them with
Mm.
feedback, Jacob. Like if little Jacob I believe's an A rider, but he's only got a B for this sample, I'm allowed to go back and sit with him and provide him with some opportunities to make his work better. It's just not a cut and
Mm.
dry. If you got A, B,
Mm.
A, it doesn't mean you're a B plus student. It means that my
Mm.
perception is that I know that Jacob's an A student. He might have not liked writing a persuasive text. That's why he got a B. Doesn't mean you're a B,
Totally.
you know?
It's
So,
like fuck. That's such a good point because it's like if you think about, I relate it back to like AFL football and me playing football. It's like you get three best on grounds in a row, then you have a couple of bad games, and then
yeah,
you get a second best, third best, fifth best. People at the end of the year don't go, "Oh, well, your last game you got best on."
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? They look at your whole year and they're like, "Oh, wow, you've had a lot of good games, or you were injured for a while, or your home life wasn't great, so
Yeah,
you." And so like, yeah, it's cool, and there should be almost a bit of a marking system around like percentages throughout the year.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know, like A, B, B, C, C, A, A. And then it's
yeah.
like, how can we then document children's life and
Mm,
how, things around school or the way that we deliver things throughout this period of time,
mm.
how they change and how they affect the children.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's,
You can have strong
I
years.
would love to, I'd love to be a teacher.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the my mentor and my principal now always said to me it's the best job in the world, and it really is.
Mm,
It's always um, the one thing that I always say that we don't mark the kids on, and the hardest bit is that we don't mark them on their ability to be good people or good humans.
mm.
And, like I still am a firm believer to get rid of the marking system. That 10-year-olds don't need to know whether they're A's, B's, C's, or D's, because I'll tell you what, you ask a 10-year-old what they are, and they'll tell you exactly what mark they're going to get. They know already.
Yeah, yeah,
You could walk into my room now, Jacob, and pull any kid aside and say, "What are you in English?" And they'd say, "I'm a B," or "I'm a C." I'm always a C. I
yeah,
know I'm a C. It's
yeah.
already they've identified and labeled themselves as that mark because that's what they usually get. And
Yeah,
so
and it's interesting because it's as well like if you tell this is what Dr. Phil said, like
mm,
we'll only operate to the required amount that we need to operate.
100%.
So so like because he was talking about homeless people and that sort of thing and like the education or the help that we give the homeless, so if we see that, like, because he was talking about this homeless person on the street, Joe Rogan was about they had tents, and so every night the fucking people would come or police would come and move the tents and like stuff. So he built a fucking house on the side of the road
Yeah,
with wheels on it,
yeah,
like proper house, like with all this shit in it, and then like people would come and they'd push it and he'd just move it every night, and Joe Rogan's like, like intuitively and his ability to navigate the situation and be like, okay, cool, well, I'm just going to do this, and then they can't do that. And then Dr. Phil was like, well, how about we get that guy a job in an area where he can implement things like that and help change and then help other homeless people with the way that he's seen things. It's like it's yeah. He said like counsel, not cancel. So like when we see these abilities in people, like let's try and continue to lift them and grow in the area that they're showing ability in. Because if we're not required to grow or required to change, we'll just live at the required amount that we have.
yeah,
Because I say that because when I was at trade school, my 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 teacher said you need 60%
yeah,
to pass your apprenticeship. You need 60%. I was like, fucking sweet.
yeah,
I'm at 60 then. Like
yeah,
I don't give a shit. I said, is there any difference between 60 and 100?
yeah,
He's like, not really in regards to like your certificate at the end.
mm, mm,
So for me at that time, I was like, cool. I don't actually give a shit about getting 100.
yeah, yeah,
I just give a shit about passing.
yeah,
Because outside of that, I know my abilities with other things, and that's not maybe not the best attitude to have, but it was the attitude that I had at that time because
yeah,
I was only required to get 60%.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
He could have told me, hey, you're required to get 80,
Or
and then I would have,
yeah, definitely. Just imagine he had said something like, the higher percentage you get, we offer a higher pay when you finish.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Because
incentives to try harder.
if there's incentives, like I spoke to, there's incentives from the government now to these teachers. So I've got a prac student at the moment, and I spoke to her and another one the other day about the fact that so they're in fourth year. They're offered now $5,000 to go and do their final prac. So they have a 6-week prac. If they go out rural, they're offered $5,000 to go out there to do their
Mm.
final prac. 5K. This is massive for these teachers that have never taught.
Yeah.
And on top of that, if they stay at those rural schools for 2 years, I think they get something like 20K tax free. So that's
Yeah. Wow.
$25,000 over 2 years in your first years of teaching if you stay out there. And then you're pretty much guaranteed to come back in to a space like the Gold Coast or Brisbane or a
Mm.
central business area, and you get a school in that space. And it's 2 years.
Mm.
These teachers like 22, 23, their incentives for fourth
Yeah.
years just to go to Logan alone. Like that, you don't even have to do your final prac. They are putting teachers in their fourth year in classrooms because we're that low on teachers at the
Yeah.
moment, and they're doing absolutely cracking jobs. I spoke to a woman, a friend of mine recently who works in that region in Logan, and she's like, they're doing a cracking job. There's nothing wrong with this whole stigma around these young kids, and they're not resilient, and they're not they are. There's like you said, Jacob, if it's there, that if
Mm.
the incentive's there, or if people want to do it, they'll do it. Nothing's changed in
Mm.
society. Like people will do it.
No.
There's plenty of people out there that will do the thing. But I am 100%
Mm.
agreement with you. When I was at uni, P's get degrees. Pass gets you your
Yeah.
degree. And
Yeah.
I had a million other things that were going on in my life, like DJing and trying to support myself with money and doing all that stuff at that point in time. That yeah, my degree was super important, but it was also just part of what I was doing to get to the end goal, which was becoming a teacher, where my passion truly lies.
Totally. And in the end, like 100% passes are for your own ego a lot of the time
Mm.
anyway, or your acceptance, or your being like your ability to be seen in public, or your
Yeah,
family, or like, hey, look, I did the thing.
yeah,
Like, I was just like, hey, I'm doing my apprenticeship. I don't give a shit
yeah,
about, I'm doing the hard thing, which
yeah,
is being an apprentice.
yeah, definitely.
Like, all I've got to do is pass, and then I can showcase, and I am showcasing who I am, what I do, how I do it, my dedication to my work, my quality in work. None of that gets shown through my fucking pass grade on my certificate.
Yeah, 100%, hundred
And
percent.
I had kids and guys that were in my uh, cohort, and they're fucking useless.
Mm. Yeah,
But they got like 80s and 90s on their tests. It's like, yeah, but you actually don't know how to be an electrician or do life.
100%, mate. 100%. There's plenty. I know plenty of teachers out there that are absolutely exceptional at being at doing writing essays, but when they get in the classroom and they actually teach, it's a lot harder for them. You can, teaching's one of those jobs that's got nothing to do with like how intelligent you are. It's got to do with how much
Yeah.
connection you have with the kids. Like I use the Denzel to Washington line all the time to my prac teachers, and I say, the attitude is first we get along, and then we go along, and that's if you don't get along with the
Hmm.
kids, they will bury you. Each day.
Did you just say Denzel Washington?
Did I say what I say, Denzel? Denise
I was
Washington.
like, I was like, who the hell was that?
I could see you like
I was
trying
like,
not
what?
to laugh when I was saying something serious. Denzel.
See, these headphones get me hot. I'm getting red.
Yeah, I'm getting you hot, bro. It's been too long.
Mm.
Hey?
Yeah.
I enjoyed that. Um,
Yeah, I think I'd like to keep jamming on it at some point.
yeah,
I'll keep listening to this Dr. Phil because he's just talking about, yeah, like society and education and, yeah, how fucking bad things are in America. And, these things in other countries have impact on other countries. So, there's things that we need to keep an eye on. And I've been very detached from, yeah, a lot of the things that happen globally. One, because I believe that there's necessity for the world to operate in certain ways. So I don't
yeah,
get too caught up in the negative or like, and I was thinking about this the other day about like how I let things affect me, like all the wars and stuff that are going on in the country. Like there's a part of me that's like, yeah, this is terrible. There's part of me is like there's a necessity, or there's always going to be this piece around the disconnection and the wars and the famine and the tragedy.
Yeah.
to have the happiness and the gold and the abundance. It's like
Yeah.
people are wanting everything to like level out. It's like I just don't think that's realistic, and I don't think it's ever going to happen. But I still need to let things penetrate me and feel the heaviness of some parts of the world. You know.
Oh, definitely. I always, you always say to me the polarity of both sides, and I truly don't believe you can have the light without the dark. If wars end, there's going to be another suicide bomber somewhere, or there's going to be something that happens, or there'll be another,
Mm.
stabbing of a mother in the train station in Bono Junction. There's always going to be the negative that is. I think they're the bits that sort of kind of wake us up to what we actually do have. They kind of,
Totally, because that's just what Joe Rogan said about the Twin Towers or 9/11 and all those things. It's like they're the parts or they're the moments in life where everything's fucked,
yeah,
and then it's like this congruency of like community coming together to band together through tragedy, you
yeah,
know. And it is always that way. I was watching the documentary the other day about Apollo 13, and one of the reporters said to one of the pilots, "Do you think this mission was a success?" And he's like, "Oh, well, if you measure success on the fact that we needed to get to the moon, land on the moon, and get back,
yeah,
then no, it wasn't a success because they had failure and they had to travel back and they nearly died."
yeah,
But he's like, if you measure success as one of the only times in life where the whole globe
mm,
was following these guys coming back to Earth and all praying across the globe, it was crazy. Like there was so many places across the globe praying for these men to get home. He's like, well, if you look at that, I think that's a success.
yeah.
And I was like, yeah, wow, that's a cool way to look at it.
Do you believe that you're a success in your life?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, it's different levels of success of what I want and what do I want to achieve. But yeah, I yeah, it's a very loaded question. Um, yeah, like what does success even mean? You know,
Yeah.
it's
Well,
like
well,
it's
yeah,
for
I
me,
guess.
it's happiness. You know, there's definitely I'm successful in multitudes of ways, and I'm feeling unsuccessful in a lot of other ways. You know,
Yeah,
not successful in love, but
yeah,
I've been successful in love. You
yeah,
know, I haven't reached the places that I want to, but I know that once I reach those places, there'll be other things to. I was talking to Jacob O'Neill on the phone the other day, and he's just like, "Man, I've got everything I want." I was like, "Oh, that's a really beautiful place to be, bro."
yeah,
Like, and to be able to stop and be present in the fact that, hey, I've got everything I want,
yeah,
you know, and that would feel challenging and weird. It's like, cool, what's the next thing now? What do I do? What do I want to achieve for now? But it's like, yeah, not me, myself, not wanting to get lost in the next thing, you know. So like right now, I'm successfully happy in this period that I'm in, the teachings that are coming, and yeah, I'm in no rush to get to what I think's going to make me happy,
yeah,
you know, because it might not.
yeah, definitely. Is it what's the one? You always say if then when is it? Is that the saying? If I get this then? Yeah, if
Oh yeah, it's one of the stories we tell ourselves with life. You know, it's like, oh, I'll do this when, or oh yeah, I'll get that when, or
yeah.
I'll travel when I have enough money, or
Mm.
I'll travel when work slows down. It's like, yeah, life's gonna be gone by then, my friend.
Yeah, yeah, big time. Big time.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, something that I wanted to touch on with you is around expression. I know it's something that you're really looking forward to when going to Amsterdam. And as men, why is it important that we express ourselves in many different ways? And can you elaborate on like maybe the areas that you express yourself in, and then maybe things that haven't served you in the past anymore in as far as expression as well, because it was something that I had no idea about prior to obviously you and Luke bringing that to my attention around expression. So yeah, why is it important? why is it important that we express ourselves as men, and how can we do that, or how do you do that?
Mm, mm. Yeah, I think the more that we express, the more that we first initially open up to the things that we don't know. Because if we're just going to fundamentally talk about expression, and a man that isn't done a lot of work or doesn't fully know themselves, their expression is going to come out in all different sorts of ways. And expression can be our anger, our frustration, our sadness, our happiness, our joy, our honesty, our truth, and the way we speak. And sometimes I believe that like a lot of people don't express because they don't know. They don't know who they are. They don't know how to express. They don't know how to communicate. They don't know how to talk. But if we just went down the line of like, hey, just express all the things that you feel, which is fucking daunting as fuck,
Yeah.
but it's going to create clarity around the things that you don't know. So you're going to express, it's going to be clunky, and it's going to bring something up. So then it's going to give you the opportunity to sit, reflect, observe, grow. Um, so yeah, I think like just inherently, if we can just express the things that are present for us, it's going to lead us down a path of growth.
Yeah.
And so the more that we express, the more that we learn, the more that we become more truly who we are.
Yeah.
And yeah, I know that like expression on all factors is just, it's fucking scary for a lot of people and a lot of things and a lot of situations, environments. And so, oh, well, I express here, but I don't express here, or I spoke my truth here. It's like, yeah, expression shouldn't be limited to the situation that you're in. The way that you contour your expression sometimes needs to be thought about, because obviously there's different certain situations that we're in where we need to uphold a certain way that we speak or communicate. For society,
Yeah.
because other people's perceptions and reflections in certain workforces are going to be detrimental to how we move and adapt and grow. So I think like being conscious of like not just fucking word vomiting everything that comes out. But yeah, my relationship with the expression is I know the things and I know the way that I want to express. And I believe that a lot of people do. They know inherently they like there's something within them. They're like, oh, I want to express this, or I want to say this, or I want to do this, or I want to dance like this, or I want to
Yeah.
move, or I want to sing. But a big chunk of people have that little fucking piece in them, or that anxiety that comes up. It's like, oh no, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So the more that we can tap into like the things that we want to do, and when we're not expressing, we can see how we're not being ourselves. We're not being true to ourselves. We're lying to ourselves, or we're dishonoring ourselves.
Yeah.
So yeah, expression for me just creates deeper attunement of where we're at, how we show up, and where we're not showing up, and how we want to show up.
Amazing. I
Mm.
love that. Yeah, I definitely expression for me. The bit that came, or the part that came for me, was like with being in the men's circle and feeling safe to actually be able to express myself, like around sexual identity, and just a lot of different parts of me. That when you spoke about fears and anxieties, expression for me has always there's always been a part of me that loves to express when I'm at home in bed by myself and think about all the
Mm.
fantasy dreams that I have around things I want to do. But once I got into the circle with the men and saw other men expressing, their feelings, thoughts, understandings, and then on top of that, just things that they love doing, and inviting
Mm.
men to things that they love doing, and then allowing men to express more in front of those men, and all of a sudden you've got these bonds that were I'd have to say foreign, like just
Mm.
foreign bonds and unfamiliar connections and an unfamiliar love that has been cultivated in that space, and then allowing for new expressions now is really beautiful, because there isn't the huge fear behind judgment when
Totally. And I think like one of the guys posted the other day about, you know, men aren't going to express until they have a safe space,
mm,
which is, yeah, it's true.
mm,
It's great. It's what we need. That's why we have Circle. However, none of that means anything unless we take it back out and we actually push our edges in society
yeah,
and break free of the things. Because it's like, yeah, if we just reside ourselves to safe spaces,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's not what we're here to do, you
Yeah.
know. And you know, I am devoting a big part of my time in Amsterdam is like leaning into the edges that I've stepped back from while I've been traveling, because
Yeah.
it's been different, you know. So um yeah, I said to Joe last night, I said, I feel the places where I am dishonoring myself and I'm not showing up in expression
Yeah. Okay.
because of, yeah, it's just fear, you know. And then you do it, you're like, this feels so nourishing, feels so good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Joe, like, framed them today as kinks. Like they're almost like,
Oh yeah.
yeah. And I thought that was a really like nourishing way of sort of thinking about it. It's like, when you have, if you're a person that's constantly in chaos, you actually, can you find, is that actually your kink? Like, is that something that you're actually, you're wanting, or you're drawing in your subconscious, and it's something that you is feeding you to, like, to keep you going and keep you alive. Yeah, it's really, I'd love.
It's two.
Elephants.
There's two sides to that.
Yeah,
There's two sides to that in regards to like existential kink, the book, and bringing our subconscious into our conscious, you know.
yeah,
And the more that we become more aware of something, the more that it starts to dissipate, you know.
yeah, yeah,
And but there's also like there's operating systems, you know. So sometimes, like Joe, for example, she operates under pressure.
hmm
So what she does is creates pressure
mm,
so that she works like
yeah,
more intensely and gets things done. Is that the right way to do things? Who knows? That's her way to operate,
yeah,
and
yeah,
at times it's the way I operate as well.
mm,
It's a creating a away from driver instead of towards. So it's like, I'm just going to create chaos because then I can get all the things done.
mm,
That's not necessarily good for your nervous system either.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
To
yeah,
keep being in like, well, this is makes me kinky, and
yeah,
this is just how I operate.
mm,
You know, we want to bring those kinks and those inefficient potential ways of operation to the surface so that we can navigate things different with different patterns, you know. Like I believe we're always going to have some patterns that are going to be underlying for our whole life, you know, and we're going to keep getting faced with them each time we grow and evolve and move on to the next thing. But I'm getting low battery. um yeah, it just fucked me up, that did. Yeah, it is acknowledging that they're kinks, but it's like, cool, what are you doing with them?
yeah, yeah.
um
I like that. I
because
like,
yeah,
how you frame that.
and
Because we
and
speak.
it's sorry, it's
Well,
familiar things as well. So we operate at things that are familiar,
yeah,
you know. So like, I'm used to feeling like this when I do this,
yeah, yeah,
so I'm gonna feel like that when I do this. So every time that I up level or I grow, I go through a piece of chaos before I get there. Do you know what I mean? So then that's the thing that you're gonna do. So then you're gonna relate to like, when I do well, I'm in chaos.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
You know,
yeah.
it's like, yeah,
Yeah, I
keep
definitely.
going. Yeah. All right, hang on a sec. Hang on.
Yeah,
I gotta say goodbye to Caitlin.
you're right.
Hello.
Oh, oh, safe flight, and let me know when you land.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks for
fun.
coming. Oh,
Well,
very good. Go on,
See
do
you
your
soon.
podcast. Safe flight,
bye.
and you have to have an airport point.
Yeah.
Thanks for having my friend. Thanks for looking after him.
Horse.
Speaking of friends, I had a question for you. It's been a little while. It's been sort of like 29 days. Thanks, Reg. That's enough barking. If you
I'm listening. I'm just finding power source.
so
Keep talking.
if you could send a genuine heartfelt message out to someone, maybe back at home, who would it be, and what would you like to tell them? So if you could
Send a genuine, heartfelt message.
out to someone, who would it be, and And what would you like to tell them?
Yeah, it's going to be just to the listeners. It's not going to be to anyone specific.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, it would just be simply to like stop moving away from the things that are uncomfortable. You know, everyone thinks that I'm just on a beautiful holiday overseas, but there's a lot of things coming up for me. There's a lot of like finance things, worthiness pieces, fears, like, and all of that's present because I lent into the thing that was uncomfortable. You know, there was excitement around booking this trip and going away, but there was a heap of fear, you know, fear around like the unknown.
Yeah.
So like my heart's desires is for the listeners to just fucking lean into that thing that you know is true, that you know that you've been avoiding, whether it's a conversation, whether it's a fucking message, whether it's an event, whether it's doing some art, a dance class, whatever it is for you. It's like just do the thing and see what happens. You know, life is way too short. You know, I like just then at the start of this podcast, us having to pay for the thing. It was like $180 US, and part of me was like, fuck you, like fuck, I don't like, I'm conscious around my money at the moment because I'm traveling, and I'm like, nah, fuck it, whatever. Like there's a reason that I want a high definition video, and I want to be able to do these videos with you, and I want to be able to do the things that mean something to me.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that.
The $180 US doesn't mean fuck all to me. In the end, it's like that may just get me home a day earlier.
Yeah.
But this is important.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
But so I felt the uncomfortability of having to pay that again.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, there's always something.
Yeah.
It's always something you got to pay.
Yeah.
But it's like, if we take the fear out of it and we take the uncomfortability out of it, what is it? It's like, well, I want to do a podcast with my best friend.
Yeah.
And I want to send a message out to the universe of the things that they can achieve if they lean into what's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So for me to want to have that for other people, I need to have that for myself. And I need to prove by doing. So yeah, like if people, I'm here to be a beacon or an example of leaning into the uncomfortable. And I'm not fucking perfect either. I'm not always leaning in, but there's always certain things in your life that you know that you need to lean into.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not talking about all the little things. I'm like, there's always going to be a chunk or a piece of your life where you're like, I wish I could do. I wish I was doing.
Yeah.
Go do that fucking thing and then see what happens. Don't plan about all the things that are going to happen in case if I do this, this might happen, this might happen, this might happen. Just go do the thing and see what happens. Yeah. And I love you.
Yeah. Yeah, I love you too. And I love when you say that I'm your best friend. It makes me feel really amazing on the inside. A few podcasts ago we talked about emotional literacy. And I can't remember what you changed it to. I don't know if it was emotional intelligence, but a big part of that at the moment, or one of the huge concepts that we're teaching at school is through the resilience project, around the word resilient. And I thought we could do a little bit of a deep dive, and I listened to a podcast on this more recently about the word resilient. So the etymology, or I did a bit of a word search around.
Great. I was about to search that up, and I was like, yeah.
So the word resilience is resilient with a T. It's actually an adjective. So you can never become resilient. Okay. Like I could say, the resilient man was able to, face his fears. And so this kind of buzzword at the moment, that all of a sudden you become resilient. And this podcast that I was listening to by this,
is there a difference between resilient and resilience?
Yeah. So resilience is the verb, like you can show resilience. but resilient
Mm.
is the actual adjective, and we're using a lot as a noun now. Like, eventually you become resilient, or I am resilient. And a problem that, and this came up for me, was what she said on the podcast, is that we have this thing in mind now that all of a sudden at some point in our lives we're going to become resilient. So we wear, like, we can put this cape on and sort of feel like Superman, and we get to 60 and we don't feel anymore. We just become resilient. We become really strong. And she said,
Totally.
the problem with that is that, and for me, thinking around the Disney love and stuff that we spoke about a few podcasts ago, was that I actually believe that I'd get to a point where I didn't feel things anymore in any situations. And she said, that's not what happened. She said, you still feel, and you might feel a little bit less if it's a situation that you've been through a few times, or you could feel the same. But as you and I have spoken about, the tools that you then have in your toolbox to deal with these situations, or the better regulated nervous system you have, or whatever you have looked at, whether you're doing NLP, whatever psychology, whatever you're doing, you're able to build up a better toolkit, to be able to deal with these situations that arise for you in life. And my question for you today is, like, what are your feelings on the whole idea of a resilient society? Because we keep saying that kids don't have resilience now, and people aren't resilient anymore, and we've got this big blame of COVID. All of a sudden, COVID made people not resilient anymore, and that word keeps coming up, like that people all of a sudden used to be resilient because they used to be tough, or they could get through hard times, and now people aren't resilient anymore. Where I think it's actually quite the opposite. So what's your take on it?
Totally. I just looked up the word as well. It's like an ability to recover from or adjust easily to misfortune or change.
Yeah.
And it's like, what are we talking about resilience? It's in regards to, like, in what context are we talking about it? That's the thing that, like, if we're talking about, oh, children aren't resilient anymore, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you talking about the way that they just show up and they just power through, or they just don't talk about things, or how marriages operated, how the workforce was, how men and women's relationships are? Like, there's so many different formats to what we're actually talking about. And what does that mean? Like, what does resilience to those relationships and those categories mean to you?
Yeah, right.
Because to me, if I talk about, like, my mum dying, my resilience was, like, to just keep pushing. And what resilience brought me was, like, I know and I'm good. They're the two fucking things that I've had to, like, come back from. It's like, I don't fucking know and I'm not good. I'm not okay. I do feel fear. I am scared. But if I'm resilient a lot of the time, it's like, no, I'm fucking good, man. Like, I've been through heaps. I can handle this.
Yeah.
And what does handle mean? Handle generally meant avoiding my emotions.
Yeah.
When it meant bypassing, because it was like, I've been here, I've done this, I don't need to process this because I'm good.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, when we're talking to children, and I love what the Resilience Project does with you, and you've spoke very highly of what their system is and how they do it.
Yeah.
However, like, if someone was to say to me, oh, children aren't resilient anymore, my question would be, in regards to what?
Yeah, I like that.
I'd be more talking about, our children are fucking, and myself, are addicted to social media.
Yeah. 100%.
Because in the end, resilience comes from being put in a situation and seeing how you fucking get out of it.
Yeah.
So every human being has instinct.
Yeah.
Survival instinct. So, like, if we were to take away things and put people in situations, they would become resilient. Because they would have to achieve whatever they needed to get out of the situation they're in.
Yeah.
People are. If you really take it back down to animalistic processes, and we all will operate very similarly.
Yeah.
A lot of people are saying, oh, men don't know how to do this anymore. They don't know how to fucking change a car tire. They don't fucking make a man pull over on the side of the road by himself in the middle of nowhere with no jack and his surroundings. He'll somewhat figure out how to change his tire. Does that mean he does it on an everyday, like, thing? Does that mean he doesn't have the ability to do it? No, it just means that he's not required to do it.
Yeah.
This takes us back to the Dr. Phil thing. It's like, society isn't requiring us to do certain things.
Yeah.
So then we don't do them.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if we are required, our resilience will come back
Yeah.
and we'll get the thing done that we need to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, like we survived, like, human society is survived, the Black Plague. We survived some pretty horrific, times, and we kept pushing forward, and that's the whole premise of, a resilient society, and then a resilient being. Uh,
It's
it,
just adaptive. It's adaptability.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I like that.
Like it's like adaptability is one of the best strengths that you can have, but adaptability with awareness and consciousness around how you're actually traveling and are moving through your adaptability.
Yeah,
Because it's all good to be adaptable, but it's like we still need to register how things are making us feel and how we're showing up and sharing and expressing,
yeah.
even when we're being adaptable.
So that links it, another point from that podcast back, which, so they then spoke about, self-help books, and how, society's so big on reading self-help books versus, going to see a psychologist, counselor, or, a mentor, a coach like yourself, and the importance of, actually seeing someone, primarily based on the fact that that person. So Jacob, for example, we had a session last night, and we, you'd spoken about old patterns, and you actually know who I am because you document and you write and you learn. It's like you are the version of human AI that is learning about me, as a human being. And so you're able to build up this knowledge and then help me navigate through that situation, or become, have more resilience in many situations in my life. And they
Because knowledge doesn't equal wisdom.
yeah,
Experience equals wisdom.
yeah,
So for someone that's reading books and listening to podcasts, they have knowledge.
yeah, 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 I like that.
But I think when you actually work with someone one on one, or have the ability to be put through experiences that then create wisdom and change within your psyche, that's how you change.
Yeah,
Reading something and having all the, like, I've spoke to so many people and they have all this knowledge where I'm like, yeah, how's your relationship?
yeah,
You can tell me all the things around dark mass, light mass, fucking polarity, all this shit, but your relationship's fucked
yeah,
because you're not actually knowing how to implement it or creating experiences. You're just showing up in the same patterns that you always have.
100%. Yeah, no, I like that, and I think that one definitely was for our listeners today. Like, I wanted to be able to share that with them, and my big takeaway from that is, like, your in what, like, when we're looking at resilience, in what. So if people are listening now and they're feeling like they are really struggling and they don't feel like they're showing much resilience in many situations of their life, I invite them to, the first thing is express, like we spoke about earlier, express with someone how you're feeling, and then seek out a professional's help, someone's help that is able to start to listen to you, and provide you with, an opportunity or a platform to start to build some new foundations, and as I spoke to earlier, my journey has been absolutely incredible and mammoth. And yeah, unfortunately, if I didn't seek out Jacob and, Rob and the men's circle, there's a real high chance that I wouldn't be here anymore, because the same pattern would have created, it would have continued, that same loop would have continued over and over, and I'd had enough of being in that loop, and that's the tough space that a lot of people are in. So if you feel like you're in that loop at the moment and you're listening to this right now, please reach out to me, reach out to Jacob, or reach out to someone, and just tell us or them, how you're doing. And even though if it's super scary, I truly invite you to try and lean in, as Jacob said before, to that, and provide you with an opportunity to start your healing.
Because, yeah, the piece of me around that is what I just thought of was people are wanting to create resilience to continue down the same path.
Yeah.
I want to be able to deal with this better.
Yeah.
My question would be like, is this what you want?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's like, that's the change. So many people are like, I want to be able to Yeah, it's like, yeah, if you love your job, but you're stressed at certain things, yeah, being more adaptable and learning how to regulate yourself in those situations, yes. But people are just trying to create more resilience so they can just live the fucking, get through the life that they're doing. So we want to change the life that you're doing to give you something that you desire and love, and it's like, this is the thing I do. You don't want to just create resilience so that you can keep trudging through the mud.
Yeah, I agree. That's really beautiful. I have to get going shortly, but before I do, I have a question from a listener.
Yeah.
One of our listeners' name is Dave, Delicious Dave. I think you know him quite well.
Davina.
And Dave's question, because I know he's going to listen and he'll go, you fucking this and that. You didn't ask my fucking question. Have you
Sound
asked?
like you're from London.
Dave wants to know, Jacobe, have you asked, try and do it in fancy a shoe shine, Gov. Have you asked someone out yet there, young Jacob? Have you asked someone out?
Not technically. I have 3 connections through Hinge that I'm going to meet up with when I'm in Amsterdam. I guess you'd classify those as dates. My intentions are to just meet, connect, and see where life takes me. Yeah, it's not through the format of wanting to sleep with someone or anything like that. It's actually just wanting to meet and connect with more people. I've also been in contact with a few people from couch surfing as well, to meet up and connect as well. So yeah, asking someone out in regards to connection, yes.
Yeah,
yes,
great.
I have. Yeah.
Go, Dave.
Big,
I mean, are you the best?
Jobo!
The best bit is I'm going to tell him that I'll tell him in circle tonight, and then he'll listen. I know he'll try and skip through, and it's going to be at the very end. That's so good. So today,
I miss you. I miss you, big tiger eye, Dave.
He's going to love that. So from here now, you go to Amsterdam this afternoon.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And then who knows? We'll check back in for let's do podcast fortnightly now so that we can actually get a bit of a ball rolling here. Yeah. And I think, like the different cultures and the different things that are present. I'm going to a men's circle on the 20th with a guy that I met through social media. He found the podcast on YouTube, then added me on Instagram. Conveniently, he's in Amsterdam. His mate's running a men's circle. I was like, that feels like that's somewhere I should be.
That's fantastic. That's so exciting, man. And it's so cool to think that we have had the opportunity, or people around the world have listened to the podcast, and it was a giggle. It was literally a giggle where we filmed my poetry one night, and and had a joke together, and this is like episode 10 or something like that. Like there's been a few. There's been a few, and everyone.
You had to bring it in at some point, didn't you?
Yeah. I said something like
episode.
I don't
episode 10.
So. I don't even know. I hope you know what, when this releases, I actually hope that it is episode 10. So then I could just be like,
it's definitely not. It's not, you dickhead. It's like, we've done 5 on Spotify. This will be episode 6, and you've been saying episode 7 from 5 episodes ago. And I'm like, shut up.
This is part of our thing now. Well,
dickhead.
I will speak to you. Can you, because this is a podcast, but also a best friendship. Can you text me, please, when you get to Amsterdam, and let me know that you're in safe and that you're all good?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. Big ups, bless up. Big love to everyone. Thank you for listening. We'll see you all in a couple of weeks.
All right. Beautiful, man.
Peace. Have fun at Circle tonight.
I will. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.